Joining me on the show, you might recognize him from his time on ESPN's NBA Today or going toe-to-toe with Stephen A. Smith on First Take just this morning, actually. It's ESPN analyst, 14-year NBA vet, and NBA champion, don't forget, the one, the only Kendrick Perkins, a.k.a. Big Perk. Kendrick, thank you for being here, brother.
I appreciate you having me, Avery. Thanks, man.
Of course. You're doing a whole lot of movement, but I hear those on the 901 could see you here in Memphis here pretty soon. Is that right? Am I correct on that?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, listen, one of my good friends, my good brothers, teammates, a guy that I'm, been through the trenches with on the basketball floor, man, a guy that I love so dearly is finally getting his moment, right? Getting his jersey retired, and Tony Allen, T.A., we got other, various nicknames for him, but I don't want to put him on blast right now. This is his moment. I don't want to steal his moment. I don't want to, but at the end of the day, I'm coming down there to support my guy.
All right, so they call you Big Perk, of course, and we do a segment on this show called The Big Idea, so let's jump right into that. Saturday, like Big Perk said, the Memphis Grizzlies will retire the jersey of one Tony Allen. Allen, a six-time all-defensive selection in the NBA who played for the Grizzlies for several years, taking them to the playoffs and one very memorable Western Conference Finals. Before he came to Memphis, he played for the Boston Celtics, where he won a championship with one Kendrick Perkins back in 2008. So, Kendrick, I really want to ask you right now, my brother, I know those are some fond memories for you on those Celtics days. What do you remember about playing with one Tony Allen?
I mean, he's the true definition of a dog, right? When you talk about sicking somebody on someone, that's him, right? And that's what he was. He was a guy that, locked up and took pride in locking up the best players, right? Whether it was, playing some great defense on LeBron James or Kobe Bryant, that's who T.A. was. It wasn't a front on and off the floor. And, just watching T.A. and his growth, when he got into the league, a whole lot of one-on-ones with Paul Pierce. They used to go at it, a whole lot of one-on-ones. And, just watching him put in the work on a day-to-day basis on, being that defensive guy, it's just, on the court, man, he was a guy you definitely want to go to war with. Off the court, man, T.A. is just that joy that, you need, just that comes in the room every day, that just brightens up the damn room all the time,
I hear that. I know he was a beloved member of that, especially that 2008 championship team that the Celtics did win with Paul Pierce and KG, Ray Allen, all those guys. But you also had to see him leave. Can you just kind of talk me through what that moment was like free agency-wise, as T.A. was kind of trying to decide if he wanted to come to Memphis or stay in Boston? What did you do as a teammate to try to get him to stay?
I mean, you try everything under the sun. You try to, make him realize that, hey, man, you leaving not only your teammates, but you're leaving your brothers. But at the end of the day, you at that point in time when you already have a championship, you got to look to start benefiting you. And to be honest, T.A. was in a spot where, we had our starting five intact, and he needed to go somewhere where, he was going to be able to have a bigger role. And, as much as you don't want to lose him, you have to, accept it, right? And if you're a real brother and a real friend, you're going to tell him to go ahead and go do what's best for him. And I think, he did make the best decision. And, that's why you and I are here today.
And, of course, you did have to watch him go. He goes to the Memphis Grizzlies, has a great career, obviously more offensive, all defensive selections, Mr. First Team All-Defense himself. What was it like kind of watching him from afar and then having to play against him? I know you guys had some battles with those Thunder days of yours.
You know what? I watched Tony Allen, T.A., go from being hard-headed, stubborn, as a guy, young guy, being under the leadership of Paul, KG, Ray, James Posey, to actually becoming the leader and actually going to Memphis and establishing culture, right? That grit and grind culture. And it was a beautiful thing to see because, behind the scenes, we all knew that T.A. had the capabilities, But to actually watch him go and do it, to actually watch him be more outspoken and be more of a voice in the locker room. I mean, it was almost like he graduated. And so those times after I got traded and went to Oklahoma City and we had those battles, in the playoffs, you never know how good Tony Allen is defensively until you're out there trying to set a screen on him, right? And in the scouting report, they always tell you, hey, look, guards, we need you to get small. We need you to blow up the screen. Tony Allen was that guy that you didn't want to set a pick on. He was that connected. He would bust through the screens. It would hurt. And just watching him set the culture and just, bring life back to Memphis in a basketball space, I couldn't have been more happier for him. And then, just to think about the other side of it, on the competition side, it's a guy that you just didn't want to face. I mean, think about this for a second. He was playing, his defense was so good, so great, that they wrote an article about Kevin Durant in Oklahoma, calling him Mr. Unreliable. Mm-hmm. Think about that.
Yeah. KD.
That was the Tony Allen effect. Like they were calling KD. They had a newspaper article calling Kevin Durant Mr. Unreliable. That was the Tony Allen effect right there for you.
All right, well, we'll see the Tony Allen effect on Saturday as he gets his jersey retired after the Grizzlies Heat game. That'll be 7 p.m. start of that game. Let's get into a little bit of what happened last night. Grizzlies taking on those Utah Jazz, a team they've had some success against so far, looking for their 4th straight win. There's the Tower of Power from J. Huff, slam. Grizzlies down 1 early, still in the first, 10 seconds left. Jordan Clarkson stripped by Scottie Pippen Jr., Desmond Bane on the break, downhill Des, the drop off to Brandon Clark for 2. Grizzlies up 30-24 after 1. Second quarter, Luke Kennard starts heating up off the hockey assist, 3-ball, corner pocket. Kennard had 13 in the second quarter alone. Grizzlies active on the other end. Morant, steal, little bump of the rookie Isaiah Kohler, tells him he's itty-bitty, too small. Grizzlies up 19 at one point in the second. They head into the half up 14, and then the Jazz just decide they want to go on a big run. That's Clarkson. That one's Lauri Markkanen from the same spot from 3. That ties the game up at 85. Fourth quarter, Grizz trying to shake the Jazz like toilet paper on your shoe. Luke Kennard with a 4-point play, hits the free throw. Grizzlies up 114-110. That one swirls around and really is like a toilet bowl. Another 3 from Kennard. Grizzlies having quite a game, 30 points, 7 of 9 from deep for Luke. And then Mr. Big 12, call 12, Morant from the top of the key. He calls game, lets the crowd know he's got a big set of cojones. Grizzlies up 122-115. That'll be the final. Taylor Jenkins knows it's been tough to put some teams away, but he'll take the win either way.
Luckily, our guys found a way. I mean, we got to find the positive through this, that we still found a way to win these games, regardless of who we're playing, where we're playing. But definitely our standard is something that we have to be aware of, being more consistent in for 48 minutes. And, proud of the resolve down the stretch.
I wouldn't even say it's ugly. I feel like we disrespect a lot of guys in this league just because of their team record. They're still NBA players. They're here for a reason. So no matter, whenever you step out there on the floor, the game is not going to be easy. It's not like we came and, disrespected them at all. They came and played hard. Obviously, NBA players who here for a reason can score the ball. We just have to, just lock in even more. And obviously, we had a big lead that they went on a run and cut, and then we're just, staying with it, just figuring it out and going out and get a win.
So the Grizzlies have won 4 straight now. Kendrick, I know you might have wanted to turn this one off at halftime after they were up 19, but what did you like or dislike about what you saw from the Grizzlies in this one?
Well, I think overall, I like the way that Memphis has been playing basketball, especially offensively over the last few games. Obviously they're missing their second best player in Jaren Jackson Jr., and I think it was a blessing in disguise, to be honest with you, that it happened at this time, because now we're able to see Ja Morant again. Ja Morant that we've been missing. Not Ja Morant at the start of the season. Ja Morant from the future from the past before all of this other stuff happened, right? This Ja Morant is the Ja Morant that's going to take the Memphis Grizzlies deep into the playoffs. I don't need to see Ja Morant standing in the corner. I don't need to see Ja Morant playing off the ball. I need to see a ball-dominant Ja Morant that's not only getting downhill to create for himself, but getting downhill to create for others. And the rest is going to feed off of him. You know, when you have a player that dynamic and could go get buckets, he's going to make guys better around him by accident because he draws so much attention. And so now you got him over the last few games, you know, averaging 30 plus, right around 30. And it's like, man, this is the job we've been waiting on.
All right, so let's take a quick look at the Western Conference standings. I think we're going to get into a little bit of what you're talking here. Here's where the West lies right now. Grizzlies have won their 4th straight after they lost 4 in a row, and the Nuggets also took a loss. So Memphis now back into 2nd place, and the Nuggets in 3rd. The Lakers have lost 2 straight and slide to 4th. Rockets and Warriors in 5th and 6th. Minnesota and the Clippers round out that top 8. Kendrick, with the play that the Grizzlies are on right now, especially with where Ja Morant has been, where do you think they stand in the West? Are they contenders or are they pretenders right now?
You know what? I say this respectfully. I think they're pretenders. And I think they're a year away, to be honest with you. It's not that I don't have faith in Ja Morant or Desmond Bane or Jaren Jackson Jr., I just really need to see the growth of the young guys. And I think the only way that they're going to be able to grow is by getting experience, right? When you look at, you know, teams around the Western Conference alone, right, the Denver Nuggets, they're stacked with depth, right? A lot of experience on their team. From young guys, you know, got championship experience. You look at Oklahoma City, and I know a lot of people say, quote unquote, they don't have a lot of experience, but, you know, going through one playoff battle, a couple rounds, that actually give you the experience that you need. And they got great depth. You know, I thought they made some great deals, some great acquisitions at the trade deadline, which got them, you know, right at the top of the Western Conference. And it's not a knock. I think the Memphis Grizzlies, their ceiling is a, you know, first-round exit. That's just my honest opinion. But it's not a bad thing. I think the future is really, really bright.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with you. Certainly happy of where they've seen the Grizzlies go here in the regular season, but we've seen them do this before. They've been second in the West a couple of times in the last several years, and I think what a lot of people have taken kind of some issue with is they've almost, you know, tripled or quadrupled down on some youth. You've got 2 rookies in Jalen Wells and Zach Edey that are in your starting lineup that are going to get a lot of minutes. Vince Williams Jr., who's one of their better defenders, hasn't played in a playoff series. G.G. Jackson hasn't really been in a playoff series, really had a chance to take on a lot of the role in his first year. But here in the second year, after coming off a foot injury, still kind of figuring some things out, and I don't think that bodes well for a couple of playoff series, rather. But to your point, OKC had to figure some things out, got them all the way to a Western Conference Finals this year. You think there's a cap, and you just said it. Do you think there's any wiggle room for the Grizzlies to maybe surprise some folks? Because I know there are some contenders who, you know, don't really even believe in the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of non-believers, but, you know, after the Thunder went there and got that signature win last night, I think they're believers now. Again, it comes down to the depth, man. You know, a lot of those guys, they didn't got tested, whether that was the first round or second round. You know, they didn't got put in those crucial moments where, you know, it mattered the most. They didn't made crucial mistakes and know what it feel like to be in those moments. And all that plays a part. I think, Avery, everything that you talked about from the youth side of things with the Memphis Grizzlies is a reason why I can't yet put them as legit title contenders. And again, that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. And then let's take a look at Ja Morant, because you've been sticking on him here for a little bit. Over the last kind of 4 games, Morant's putting up 30 points, 8 assists per game, really been playing well, especially with Jaren Jackson Jr. being out, shooting 50% from the floor, 34% from the 3. And like I said, Grizzlies have won 4 straight kind of in that span. But Perk, you've been kind of critical of how they've used Morant over the last, we'll really just say this season, as they brought in some new offensive schemes. You don't think him playing off ball is really going to translate to them winning? Am I right about that?
You're absolutely right. And look, it's going to get you regular season wins. I know, Memphis has this new system, and I think, Taylor Jenkins is a hell of a coach. I really do. I think he's a really, really great coach. He's done some good things since he's taken over, being the head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies. But I just look at, them being one of the worst teams for us not utilizing, the ball screens and taking it out of their offense, although they do have one of the best offense in the league. It's still, you know, I think getting to the postseason, that type of system allows teams to load up on you, right? And then when you have a player like Ja Morant, you really want to utilize the two-man game as much as you possibly can. And when I say two-man game, down the stretch, I want to see more of Jaren Jackson Jr. Setting a pick for Ja Morant coming downhill, Triple J mixing it up, whether he's pick and popping or pick and rolling. I mean, that opens up so much, and it also opens up Ja. And I think you can feed off of that so much, and just looking at it, if they switch to pick and roll, then all of a sudden you dump it down there to Jaren Jackson Jr., who's a very good post-up guy. Now he has the mismatch. Now it's a balanced flow, and now it's hard to guard.
All right, I'm going to give my production folks here a second to bring in your partner. Grizzlies are going to play the Cavs on Friday, the number one team in the Eastern Conference right now. Obviously, I got a question for you, Perk. I got a good friend of mine, my producer, Chris Ruffin, is actually a big Celtics fan. We hoped that you were coming in today when I told him you were coming on. But he wants to know who's going to be the X factor for the Celtics in order to repeat. And I'll ask you that while we kind of get my production folks ready for your guest.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be Kristaps Porzingis. Well, I know it's going to be him. Hell, he was the X factor for him last year in the NBA Finals. He just brings that balanced attack for the Boston Celtics. We saw last night what Oklahoma City did to him, and we saw the Celtics struggle from three. And I think, Kristaps Porzingis being one of the best post-up guys in the league, when the Celtics run the high pick and roll with him, he gives them so many options, right? Because he has unlimited range for shooting a three-point shot. He's 7'3", so that makes him a legit lob at the basket, right? Which, even if he's rolling and don't get it, it opens up space for shooters. And then if they switch, he's going to punish those smaller guys on the low block. So, that's why I didn't want to overreact. I gave props where props was due for us OKC winning the game. But he's solely the reason why. I mean, outside of what the Celtics already got, he's the missing piece on why I have them repeat.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good call. Kristaps Porzingis, certainly a fantastic player. I think what JT brings to that team, he's the unquestioned leader, but the toughness that Jaylen Brown brings, I think what they have in that starting five is legitimate, and what they can bring off the bench is also something that's really going to make them somebody that is something to be reckoned with there in the Eastern Conference. Even though they are behind the Cavs right now, I can see a world where they go toe-to-toe in the Eastern Conference Finals, and now you're talking about them going back to the finals in some place that they're very familiar.